Hello and welcome everybody to week 5 of the Octane Outlaws second season. Hope everybody's doing great on this Friday evening, late evening we can say. We are currently in the midst of qualifying. We are about 3 minutes into qualifying, just jumping from car to car here. Check out Tommy Thompson. Looks like he is coming to the end of his qualifying. David Guimond, he is putting down some laps here. And that 66 Fabricator X machine. Looking good. Anyways, welcome to Kansas. We are looking like we have a beautiful night tonight. 73 degrees, 44% humidity. Cloudy, 2-mile-an-hour wind. Not a whole lot of craziness going out on track. But we are here for the Midwest Cookout 135. Track length, 1.5-mile course. Temperature is 83 on track, so not nearly as hot as we had last week at Dover, which we started to see a bunch of people having a little bit of a hard time on the mile-long course. Altitude, 982 feet. That doesn't play too much of a factor in the cars as of right now, but we are in Kansas City. Beautiful city, known for their barbecue, hence the Cookout. And actually, Kansas City might be... I'm not sure if the raceway is in Kansas City, Missouri, or Kansas City, Kansas. The city is split kind of down the middle, if you've ever been there. Sometimes gets a little confusing which side of Kansas we're talking about. But if anybody else is still qualifying here, get you guys some cars out on track. Patrick Mitrovic trying to set down a pretty good time right now, currently in 4th. Let's see what he can do. 4th for the number 4 car here. And he comes across, and he's done a 31.56 currently. That is good enough for 4th place. 12 people have qualified. 3 have not. Zachary Steele, Richard Kreuzer, who looks to be out on track right now, going around the course. Just coming out of the pit lane now. So he's going to get a little bit of rubber down on track. And while we wait for him to start his hot lap, pop up our dashboard here. And right now you can see Richard is kind of taking that midline. Normally on your outlap, your first outlap, you want to get up to speed. Once you come around to the first timed lap, you really want to stay high on that line to try and keep your speed up as best you can. And then once you do that, you come across the line, and then that's just hammered down. You want to get your fastest lap, you know, cut as many corners as you can and cut down your angles as much as you can. So Kyle Heath jumps to the top. You know, we're showing Heath up at the top. Richard Kreuzer jumps into 7th position though. Oh, and he touches the wall. I'm not so sure that that's going to help you get a quicker time. We'll see if he can put down a faster time than what he was running. But just a little too much coming out of that second corner. Comes across the finish line here. And he will stay in 7th. So Richard Kreuzer staying in 7th at the current moment. And that is going to do it for qualifying. As of right now, we have Zachary Steele, Trevor Binns. Both of them have really haven't even come out of the pit lane yet for qualifying. But we have 7 minutes 30 seconds left. We're running about 31 second laps. So right now, though, Kyle Heath is our pole sitter at the moment. Gonna be looking. It won't pop up a grid yet because we are not quite out of qualifying, but we will wait for it to happen. But go over right now. Track conditions again, looking pretty nice out there. 73-degree night. And once again, we're at the Kansas Speedway for the 1.5-mile course. Only 83-degree temperature. So it should be a lot easier to conserve tires than last week over at Dover. And that mile course at Dover is, you know, it was proving difficult for a lot of drivers. So we're going to keep an eye and really see what these drivers are going to be able to do this week without having to conserve your tires or, you know, really push. I believe it was Mr. Martin Roberg that won, and he won with an interesting strategy. About halfway through his final stint, he knew he was going to have to get gas and fuel up, but he ended up clutching the final stint in his corners. So every corner he would, you know, throw the clutch and just kind of coast around the corners, and that saved him, you know, around 10 laps of fuel, which allowed him to not have to pit one last time. He lapped the entire field that race, and it was quite astonishing to see, to be honest. So yeah, I didn't think anybody was going to be able to pull it off. A couple drivers that we had talked to said, you know, they had thought about it, but, you know, didn't think it was a good idea, that nobody was going to do it. But Roberg did pull it off, and it was quite a ways to have to try and save fuel. So Roberg, once again, a good shout out to you last week for a win. And, you know, we'll move on to this week. Completely different track, 1.5 miles. AC Roberg is down in 9th out of 13 that have qualified. 15 at a racing today. And yeah, we'll see how this race goes. Heath out front, Heaney in second. We see there Noah Miller in third, Mitrovic in fourth, Ellis in fifth, Greg Pillar in sixth, Richard Kreuzer in seventh, Joe Barry in eighth, Martin Roberg in ninth, Raymond Mull Sr. in 10th, Tommy Thompson in 11th, David Guimont. There we go. We'll pop up the grid. David Guimont, he is sitting in 12th. Tommy Thompson's 11th. George Buck 13th. Trevor Binns 14th. And then last but not least, Zachary Steele in 15th from the Virginias. We should be gridding up any second now. We'll start seeing our beautiful cars on track. And there we are. Kyle Heath out front. And he is going to be our leader. For anybody just tuning in, we'll pop the grid view up for you guys. We're just going to try and get a few more spectators in here for the night. Sending off our broadcast links to the league. And our drivers get moving. Pop our grid view down. We're going to pop those driver details out of there. As Heath is leading us. Heaney in second. I believe he had a podium finish last week too. And Noah Miller, who had a second place finish behind Martin Roberg last week at Dover. So, some of the familiar names up front. We always have some Noah Miller fans in attendance. So anybody that's out there, definitely throw a shout out to your favorite drivers. Noah Miller in number 8 is always popular. As the pace car dives in, Heath has the start in that Geico start zone. And there he goes. He is off. Heath has a good jump on the field. Looks like Heaney on the outside also has a pretty good jump, but Miller is sticking right to the bumper of Kyle Heath. Going into turn number 1. And Heath holds his lead. Heaney loses a position. He is back 1 spot. But here we go. Kyle Heath, Noah Miller, Jason Heaney. We have a couple drivers in the back here. Martin Rober going 3 wide. We do see a couple of drivers going on that lower apron. It's not such a crazy transition as some tracks like Daytona. Ooh, Rober goes a little high. Might have touched that wall there. It's not as crazy of a transition as most of these tracks, so it is used a lot to cut that corner and to really try and just cut that angle down to, you know, just quicken yourselves up with a faster lap, but B, really try and cut down the amount of distance you have to travel. Not by a lot, but these small increments really do make or break the race fuel sometimes. You want to save as much as you can. We saw Roberg do it last week in Dover. We are hanging out with Mr. Mitrovic here, number 4 machine. Ooh, right behind him, Pillar and Kreuzer just touching doors ever so slightly. Pillar with a pretty good finish last week. I believe he was in 4th or 5th place. Good luck to number 9 and number 3. Number 9, Jason Heaney, up in 3rd right now. He is catching up to Heath and to Miller. And they're going to form a tight little group there. And the number 3 machine, that is Trevor Binns. He is a little farther back. We will check in with him. And he is side by side too with Raymond Mull, it would seem. So the two being cheered on by Ben Summerford. Definitely getting a little bit of we have a little bit of action going on here. We got 3 or 4 cars really battling to try and you know, just keep that lead. Roberg has moved up 4 positions from where he started. He's now in 5th. Trevor Binns has moved up 4 spots from where he started in the back. He is not that far from the leaders. He is let's see, let's pop up our gap. He is only 2 seconds back from the leaders, so everybody keeping you know, fairly close. Yeah, we're definitely get spread out here over the course of the race, but we're 6 laps in and everybody's still within, you know, a couple seconds of each other here, so that is nice to see. We're not gonna have somebody just completely pull away, but right now it is the number 9 of Jason Heaney that is in front in the number 9 Napa car. And right now he's just gonna try and you know, put as much of a gap as he can. Looks like he's using that low line. A couple drivers like Roberg and Ellis, Casey Ellis in number 35, using the higher line, and that is you know, gonna conserve those tires. You see Ellis sticking to that mid to high end, and we see Heaney. And Heaney is a little high on that one, but coming across, cutting that angle down, a little bit better lap time. You know, that's the hopes at least. It doesn't completely throw you off for turn 1, but it takes away from your entry into turn 1 unless you can get way back up high on that line to, you know, have a better entry and carry more speed into turn 1. When you cut that angle, it does take away from your overall diving in ability. You see, he cuts that angle again. Heath right behind him, and they go way out to that wall before they dive on in. So they are getting it done. Some cars, some drivers can't get that done, and they, you know, they lose a little bit of top end speed. We still have these 4, Heaney, Heath, Roberg, and Miller, all hanging tight together. Let's jump back. We got Ellis, but then we got Pillar, Mitrovic, and then right behind them, Binns, Kreuzer, sitting right with them. You see all these cars are still on the lead lap. The only one that shows out is Zachary Steele which is odd. I wouldn't think he would miss a race, so we're missing you, Zachary, if you're out there. But yeah, Richard Kreuzer doing a good job in that Soapbox 90, Soapbox number 90 car. He, I want to say, had an unfortunate week last week. A lot of cars had some kind of unfortunate error occur in one way or another, so there are some drop races throughout the season, though, so that is a good thing that they do here at the Octane Outlaws. We are 11 laps in. We will have stages at lap number 30 and lap number 70. If I remember correctly, yep, lap 30 and lap 70 is what we have in the program right now, but we're holding steady. We're green flag racing. We're loving it. But we jump back up to this 3 wide for second place. Heaney leading, but then we have Miller, Roberg, and Heath just kind of backing up a little bit. He might be saying to himself, let's not get anything crazy going on here. Let's not put our full race into jeopardy, so soon. We're only 12 laps in of the 135 lap stint. So, let's just hang out. Let's just chill, Don't want to get anything crazy happening. But these drivers doing a fantastic job so far. Like I said, I don't think anybody really fallen too far behind. They have Guimond, who is 5 seconds back, but that's over 13 laps. So he about, 4/10 of a second a lap, but everybody's hanging in there. Everybody's forming their own little groups here. We got Bins, or Kreuzer, Thompson, Barry right here. We got Bins up ahead with Mitrovic and Pillar. Then we got Ellis, who's kind of in the middle of the Pillar and the top 4, which is Heath, Miller, Roberg, and Heaney. And right now, Roberg doing a good job keeping that high line. You see, he gets way up on that wall and really just tries to conserve those tires best he can. You see some of the drivers going down into the apron, some staying up high, just trying to keep those tires, Roberg at least 1 car length, and you see he's closing the gap on Heaney. He's got much more speed out of those corners. Let's jump on board here with Heaney and see what he is trying to fight off with Martin Roberg. You see Roberg just with that higher line is just able to keep that speed up. You'll see him start pulling away now coming out of the exit. Not so much on the entry. You might see Heaney get a little bit more on the entry. But you see he's even starting to go up a little high. And that might not be by... Ooh, that's real close to the wall. That might not be by choice. That might be a little bit more due to him just sliding up a little bit because his tires in the rear are starting to heat up and starting to wear down a little bit on lap 17 of 135 here. Let's see if we have any really close battles. We do. We have Trevor Bins just went by Joe Barry, who's in the number 5 machine. Looks like we might have had a couple drivers drop back ever so slightly. There might have been some bumping. But so far, they're doing pretty good. Yeah, it looks like Raymond Mull. And I don't know if this is just them cutting the corner. Oh no, he bumps it. Whoa, yeah, he goes through the infield. Luckily, saves it. Woo. Under control. Wow. Let's see if we can't see what happened here with... Yep. Just hits the wall ever so slightly, and the Mull is right there, and yeah, he just keeps it going, keeping it straight. Ooh, a little sideways. Yeah, that's why they're a little farther back. Mull slowed down in order not to hit Guimond. Guimond comes back on and is trying to get back up to speed now, but Yeah, lucky that was not a huge incident. But right now, Martin Roberg, he is up 8 positions from 9th where he started. And he is currently our race leader, putting a small gap to the drivers behind him, Heath and Heaney. And you see Heath is able to throw the car down on that inside and make it stick a little better than Heaney is right now. Heath conserving tires early on, so then he can push a little bit more later, and he is you know, able to make that lower line stick, whereas Heaney is kind of forced to go on that high line to, you know, just try and keep his speed up. And Noah Miller sitting right there in 4th place waiting for something to happen here in front of him. Check in on George Buck, Raymond Mull, and David Guimond. And they are looking like they are, you know, back up to speed. Not quite where they want to be, but our first stage should bunch everybody back up and we can see what's going on there. We have Kreuzer and Binns going at it right now. Binns just getting by Kreuzer in the number 3 Quaker State, but Kreuzer is gonna try and stick in that middle line, kind of like a hybrid middle to low. Kreuzer makes that cut down on the apron. Binns going for the lower wear on the tire strategy on that high line. As you see, the number 3 really making some headway. Gets by Kreuzer, but then you know, he's starting to put a small gap. 3/10 on Kreuzer now, and that's opening up a little bit at a time. These races are very much so just, you know, how can I just get that it's not, you know, tenths at a time, it's not, you know, full seconds at a time, it's how can I get 100th of a second on the guy that I'm racing this lap? How can I get a couple 1,000ths? That's how close these cars are and these drivers are when they are racing. As you see, Heath, who was conserving tires earlier on, he's starting to make a little headway on Roberg. Heath is down now 8/10. We'll have our first stage at lap 30, so he is going to try and close that gap and get in front of Roberg by lap 30. So we got this lap and then another 6 more after that to complete. So we will see what happens here for Mr. Roberg, if he can hold on to it or if Heath is going to catch on up. Let's jump on board with Heath and see what he is seeing from his gyro cam. It almost feels like we're gonna stick our hand out the window and just brush that wall a little bit with with the tips of our fingers. The car getting so close to the wall. Heath doing a fantastic job. It's really close to the wall, up high. He's able to take that low line and make it stick once again because of the life in those tires. He's catching Roberg fairly quickly, only 3/10 back. And we're going to take a look over at Jason Heaney as well, who is getting caught up by Noah Miller at the current moment. And Miller in the number 8 machine, closing in on the number 9 Napa. Roberg in a Ford, but 3 Chevys after that in Kyle, Heath, Heaney, and Miller. A Ford with Pillar, Chevy with Binns. We'll actually show you guys some there we go. Show you who's racing what. One Toyota with Casey Ellis there. And what happened to Ellis? Why is he in the pit? Ellis is in the pit. Doesn't look like he's got damage, but let's see what happened to Ellis here. It just shows that he goes down into the pits. It doesn't show that maybe he's trying to get a jump on the stage caution, you know, just get back out there before anybody else. I'm not so sure what he is what his plans and schemes are. We'll see. Kyle Heath, though, now is in front of Mr. Roberg. Martin Roberg overtaken by Heath, and Noah Miller overtakes Jason Heaney. Let's see how that happened. This is Miller getting by Heaney on the outside. And then this is Kyle Heath getting by Martin Roberg on the inside. So two different strategies. Miller going on the outside, Heath going on the inside. It looks like we do have a live caution. That might be our lap 30. And it is Kyle Heath will be our race leader coming into the first stage of the race. Lap 30 here. Heath doing a fantastic job to catch up with Roberg, who was having a stellar pace there for a while. And there's our pace car flying out in front of Kyle Heath. We're going to take a look at pit lane. They should be coming up the pit lane here soon. We're going to see who dives in and who stays out. Because there are, I'm sure, quite a few drivers coming down in. Heath comes in, everybody behind him. Everybody is still on the main lap, I will say, except for Casey Ellis. And Casey Ellis still in the pit lane, it would seem. So, not sure what happened to Casey there. Hopefully everything's all right. But pit lane number 2 camera. Let's jump to pit lane number 1 camera. I wish this was a little bit more zoomed in. We'll do a TV one, see everybody coming in. This is a much better camera angle here. Kyle Heath. Let's see, he takes all 4, or if he just takes those outsides, and it looks like he's taking all 4. Got that left side hooked up. Roberg. Will Roberg beat him out of the pit lane? Ooh, it was close, but Heath gets out of the pit lane faster. Heaney out, Miller out, Binns out. Binns jumped a few positions there in the pits. Let's see if we can see who's gone where. Doesn't look like we can just in that instance, but Binns up 9 positions from where he started. I remember Binns was fighting was fighting Kreuzer, who is back in 10th just a few moments ago. Right before our stage caution. Tommy Thompson not 11th, Mullen 12th, Buck in 13th. Ellis out there, and then Zachary Steele obviously out of the race. He's in the chat here. Mr. Steele, sorry we missed you tonight, but that's all right. We still got a great race going on nonetheless. Only caution so far is our stage caution right here. And we'll see if these drivers can keep it that way. They're going to have some fresh, cold tires. It's not too hot of a track, though, so that really does help out. Only 85 degrees. Let's check in and see what our weather is looking like. So it's still looking like same track temp, 84 degrees, so we went up 1 degree. But, you know, everything else is staying and holding the same, 73 degrees. You know, track length hasn't changed or anything. Elevation hasn't changed. Wind direction's all the same. Everything is quite, you know, as it was at the beginning of the race, except for we went up 1 degree, which isn't going to be a huge difference. As still great conditions for these tires to last as long as they can. Lights are still on the pace car, so we're going to go around at least one more time. And I believe our pace car lights will go out this time around, and we will line up in our double file. Yeah, lights are out. We'll start lining up here. Jump on board with Mitrovic. See what he's seeing. He's starting on the inside line, kind of in the middle here. I'm not sure why. It looks like Heath might be down on that apron there. Not sure what he's trying to do. He clutching? Maybe he's clutching. Yeah, he's clutching. 300 RPM. That might be the low. He's either A, clutching, or B, he's shutting his car off altogether. Maybe he's just trying to save some more fuel like we saw Roberg do in the last stint of the race last week. Oh no, Low Country is sick. I believe that might be Corey. Low Country, who are you? Are you Corey? As we're gonna go green here, Heath has the flag. Coming up to the starting zone. And Heath is on the throttle. He gets a pretty good jump here on the field. And here we go. Heath is off to a good start. We'll see what kind of strategy he has coming into the second stint, which is going to be 40 laps instead of 30. That might be why he ended up... Ooh, thought I saw a car maybe swerving around in the back there, but let's see what kind of strategy he has. We're going to be going 36-ish laps instead of 30, so a lot of these cars that were, struggling to get their fuel, to last that long, they're going to really be struggling now. They got another 6 laps to go additionally than what they did the first time. And then after that, it's just, green to the end, which is 135 laps. So 70 to 135, you're looking at another 75 laps. 65 laps. Oh, why my brain's shorting out here. So it's quite a few laps to get to the end of the race once we have our second stage completed at lap 70. So since it is Corey, why are you missing out on races, man? Gotta be showing up. Gotta be committed to the league. Just joking. We hope you feel better, Corey. It is hard to race these long races when you're feeling under the weather, so hope you get back out on track and we can see you in our next week's race. Actually, next week we are off, I believe. Yep, the 26th we are off. That's our first break in the season. Just pulling up our schedule, but that is our first break in the season, the 26th, and then we have Road America, so a road course coming up in May, on May 3rd, Pocono after that, and then Bristol after that, Auto Club as well, and then Indy Road Course. So we are 2 road courses in the next stint that we have here for the Octane Outlaws, so it will be quite the that'd be quite the event to see all these road courses coming into fruition, and see who enjoys them, who can, stand out that normally doesn't stand out. Somebody, that isn't used to having to do that might struggle, even though they might be really strong on these 1.5 miles or the the super speedways. They might struggle at the road courses. So the road courses are always interesting to see who's got the setup, to really propel them forward. As we see, Kreuzer went into the pits, not so sure why. Looks like he just drives on in. He might be thinking that, we're gonna have to make a stop anyway for fuel, so he's just gonna get himself into some clean air. He's gonna get himself, running away from everybody and just run his own race here. So we'll see what ends up happening. Let's see if he takes a splash and dash or if he takes tires at all. It doesn't look like he's got any damage on that car, so we will keep an eye. He comes into his pit lane. Box. Oh, he might have had a little bit of damage on the rear quarter. Probably just got a splash and dash just to top him off to get through this stint. He's back out on track now. Let's see, Kreuzer just running his race. This group, oh, that was a big hit. Looks like that was Trevor Binns' number 3 machine. He just smacks the wall. keeping up with the leaders. Everybody, once again, fantastic job keeping, you know, in line with each other. 5 seconds back is the farthest back that's on this lap. Corys are down the 1 lap, but he, you know, just on a different pit strategy than everybody else. Trying to do an extreme undercut rather than an extreme overcut. And, ooh, just a little bump there, Roberg with Heaney. Drivers are trying to hold their lines, but it's getting a little close. We'll see what happens here. We're hoping that, you know, we don't have any huge cautions or, you know, huge wrecks coming on with our lead pack here, but fantastic job to keep from flying through the infield. We saw it earlier with David Guimont. He was able to hold himself, getting together with, I believe that was either George Buck, yeah, I think it was George Buck or Tommy Thompson maybe. And yeah, they just flying through the field, or flying through the infield rather. And here we go, 3 wide across the line. Roberg in first, technically down on that inside line, but Heath holding that high line, just trying to conserve those tires. Miller hanging tight, as we'll see, you know, they're another 3 wide here. We're just gonna keep that going. Bins, let's see if Bins tries to make this a 4 wide. That would be astonishing if they try and make it 4 wide. You know, with how bad netcode can be, it really does affect how a race can, you know, can end just by, you know, a little bit of netcode somewhere. So but I do want to give a big shout out to the rest of the drivers here. I mean, Raymond Mull is at the back of this front pack, and he is keeping pace with these guys up front. You know, even falling back a little bit, but from the first car to the 9th car, we are only 0.6 seconds. So there's not even a full second in this pack, and there's even more people coming up behind to join in on this pack. So a little bit of drafting, I'm sure, is helping out, but you know, these drivers definitely have to keep this car on the track, have to keep these tires alive, and it's looking like, you know, a few of these drivers are going to be able to do that fairly easily. You see Miller is our leader at the current moment. Let's see who goes down on that apron. That is Roberg on the apron. Takes that little bit of a cut. Get yourself back up for that entry that you want. Bin's trying to make his way into that top 4, and ooh, Bin's kind of gets closed off by Roberg there. Bin's thinks about the inside, but he does see, I want to say that is his teammate, number 9, of Jason Heaney. Doesn't want to bump Heaney. You don't want to knock your teammate out. I could be wrong on them being teammates, but Ben Summerford cheering for number 9 and number 3. I would think that they would be teammates. Number 3 gets a little high on that one on the exit, and he drops back within clutches of Patrick Mitrovic and Greg Pillar, who have been side by side as well for the last, you know, handful of laps or so. So we are looking at some fantastic racing. You know, side by side, we're 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, you know, 4 rows of drivers going back, you know, side by side at any given point throughout the first 20 laps of this the second stint. So fantastic job, drivers. Let's jump on board Mitrovic, or actually we'll do Guimont. Barry is actually closing the gap too. So almost all of our drivers, the only drivers that have dropped back are George Buck and Tommy Thompson. They aren't very far back from everybody either. They're only 4 seconds back from the leader through 20 laps. So great job to keep yourselves going. But let's jump on board the gyro of Joe Barry, so then we can see you know, what he's seeing, how everybody's keeping together like this, because this is an extremely tight field. Anybody can really take this if something happens up front. If a car you know, ends up going off the track or bumps the wall, or you know, gets into it with, you know, one another, with all the side by side that we're seeing, it would be it wouldn't be a crazy thing to think somebody back in 5th or 10th or, you know, anywhere can really make their way through the field. Guimond looks like he just kind of lets Barry by. Guimond did not want to get into it with Barry, so he drops back a tiny bit. Thank you, Ben Summerford, for the clarification. I'm guessing you, Ben, are the third teammate. But Barry making, I don't want to say making short work, but he must have been sitting on those tires, letting them, you know, stay cool and not taking all the life out of them. As he is pushing through the field in these corners, making it stick. You can see Binns going to the outside now, but Mull is going to be the prey for this next move. I could only imagine for Barry. That number 5 Kellogg's machine. That, once again, I think I said it in a past broadcast. The number 5 Kellogg's, Terry Labonte, as we go 3 wide across the finish line. Number 5 Terry Labonte car was always my favorite growing up. That single-handedly got me into watching NASCAR. Loved the car, and ended up, you know, didn't know too much about driver when you're, you know, 5 years old, but it's what got me into it. You know, just the livery on the car. I say livery, I'm a road racing guy. The paint on the car just really always just made me want to like hop in the car. So it was very cool that now I am a big part of doing paints and broadcasts and able to you know, be a part of this community here, Octane Outlaws. As Barry touches the wall, you want to be careful about that. Don't want to scuff that paint. And it's just it's a fun opportunity here for WA Broadcasting to be able to partner here with Octane Outlaws, because we have some great racing, some great liveries, some memorable ones, some new ones, and some very creative painters in the league here. We have Roberg in number 41. That's one of the Kroger, I believe. Yep, Kroger on the hood there. So that's not super original, but it is, you know, memorable nonetheless. Noah Miller in the Cheddars. Heath, that one definitely looks like an original paint. A Napa, number 9, reminiscent of Chase Elliott there. And then Patrick Mitrovic in his very own number 4 creation. See if it, you can see on there the PNP graphics, and that is Patrick's painting moniker, PNP graphics. He does some paints here and there and they come out fantastic. He loves those neon colors on his number 4 machine. He is doing a great job hanging in there. We have George Buck and Tommy Thompson. Tommy gets by George here. Like they are a little ways back. Richard Kreuzer just running his own race. I'm going to touch on Richard here for just a moment. Richard running his own race. He pit early. He's back on the main lap, it would seem. Does it show him a lap down? Oh, it does show him a lap down still. But when everybody else has to pit and he does not, he's going to get a huge jump on the field. His tires are going to be where he needs them to be. He's going to have the fuel that he needs to get to the end of the stint. So we'll see if this pays off for him in about 10 to 12 laps time. We'll also, I'm going to do it just because we did it last week and we caught him doing it. But Roberg right now, he's got Heath behind him 0.8 of a second. And Miller behind him 0.8 of a second, but check and see if he's doing any clutching or if he's just letting off, you know, a little extra to try and conserve fuel as he touches the wall. There, you don't want to do that. Might not slow you down too much, but here is Heath that is running down Roberg right now, 0.8 of a second. Back is Heath, and he's gonna make that 0.7 of a second fairly quickly, and he's just, you know, closing that gap ever so slightly. We saw it at the end of the first stint. Let's see if Heath can do it again at the end of the second stint, but this time Heath has Miller in his pocket. Miller was fighting Heaney in that first stint, but Miller has found a way to get himself around Heaney and is going to push again. We are 30 laps in to our second stint, so we're about where we were for our first stop with our stage caution. But right now these drivers are making these tires having to last a little bit longer, and right behind them, you know, just waiting for something to happen, is Patrick Mitrovic's number 4 machine. Joe Barry found his way through that field. Kind of, that might have been what the disruption was, why everybody has kind of fallen back a little bit. Barry made his way through. Pillar, Binns, Mull, Guimont, Thompson, a little ways back. He is 2 seconds back from Guimont, and Guimont is right there with the back of Raymond Mull, so we're kind of a little spread out, but we expected that to happen earlier than it did. And Richard Kreuzer, he is gap-wise, he's 41 seconds back, which is a lap in, you know, 10 seconds. And he is closing that gap ever so slightly. Little bit by little bit by little bit, so we'll see how this ends up playing out for Richard Kreuzer. Broberg, though, hoping that Heath just stays back in second place where he's at, because Heath is he's still closing the gap little bit by little bit. Look like maybe a little bit of a wiggle there for Miller. As you can see, yeah, he is dropping back a little bit. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Miller. He's dropped back 2/10 in the last couple corners here. Make that 3/10, and Heaney is within view there behind him. But Miller, it looked like he might have touched the top side of the wall there, and that just, you know, made him a little weebly wobbly coming out of our final corner there. Heath here is closing, and we're gonna see it again. Heath just stays right there, waits till about 10 laps, stays within about a second to 8/10 of a second, and then he just says, okay, you know, it's time, let's put the pedal down, and then I'll close that gap up and keep him behind me for that last little bit of a stint. So Heath is in the process of doing that. 2/10 now, got 4 laps to do it. See if Heath can win this second stage. I know we don't do stage points yet. In the future, I believe the Octane Outlaws are. We've talked about it before, and how to do that and how to track our points. So we will see Heath here go for a pass, probably within the next lap. Looks like he's within passing, right in that draft of Broberg. The question is, does he go high or does he go low? It looks like he is going to go for it on the low side, and we might see a reverse of what we saw last stint, which was Miller passing Heaney in the final stages. But this one might be Heaney passing Miller for 3rd place at the end of the stage. These drivers are gonna be struggling on fuel. We'll be lucky if we don't have somebody who has to pit. That's a long way to go. 40 laps. I mean, we're normally looking at 35 laps to 38 laps on fuel, so they're gonna be, you know, really pushing these cars to go as long as they can. And we see Heath is technically by Broberg, but they're gonna fight it out here to see who gets the final lap. Miller is getting pushed by Heaney as well. But Heath, ooh, Broberg almost goes down and loses control, but Heath gets by him. We're gonna have to take a look at that and see what happens once we hit our safety car here in just a few seconds time as he crosses finish line. There's our yellow, our stage yellow for lap 70. Let's take a look. It looks like Heaney is staying behind Miller. Yeah, let's definitely take a look. Heath. That's Martin Roberg. He passes him here. And it's where they come out of this turn right here. Oh, yep, he just touches the wall tiny bit. He might have gotten the bumper of Heath, but let's take a look. Gyro cam, and we'll jump onto Roberg, who is on the outside here. Roberg is getting... Oh, yeah, he let off a tiny bit. Might have hit the brake a tiny bit, but when he touched the wall doing that, it just kind of threw him a little. Let's see, we have everybody coming into the pits now. The only one that is not Richard Kreuzer. He is caught on up, gonna be coming around. And this is all part of Richard's strategy, I would assume. Heath coming out of the pits. Roberg out, Miller out, Heaney out. Mitrovic is out in 5th. Yep, everybody in the front kept their positions. Kreuzer come full flying around. Tommy Thompson, Guimond, Binns, and Buck. So Kreuzer jumps himself up a few positions. He's in 7th. I'm not quite sure. He's gonna have to pit here soon. Everybody else had to pit. So he might pit before we go green. I'm not sure. He might pit right after they go green, like once he's out of fuel. And because we're green till the end of this race, so we got another, we'll have about 60 laps to go. He comes in right now. Yep. So the second lap of the caution, he's gonna get his tires, gonna get his fuel topped off, I can only imagine. But we have 3 sets of tires here in the Octane Outlaws, so you got to kind of stagger those because there's normally 4 to 5 stints worth of racing. So there's at least 1 stint to maybe 2 that you're going to have the same set of tires that you need to last a little longer. So, not sure. Some cool looking signboards there. Getting tires, both sides, probably got topped off with fuel. And somebody was flying around. Looks like Mull might have been a lap down. Not so sure why. Maybe he pit and was just trying to get caught back up. But everybody's still on the main lap here. The only one out, and I'm not sure why, Casey Ellis pulled over and pulled out of the race. Just pulled into the pit lane for anybody else very early at lap 25. The end of lap 24. Getting a lap 25 and just parked his car. So not so sure, you know, something might have happened with Casey. We'll take a look in Discord afterward. Hopefully everything is all right, Casey. We, you know, always hoping that everybody's doing okay. But we are going to be lights out here on the pace car. Yep, we are. And we're going to go 2 rows. We'll jump into the middle of the pack here with George Buck. We'll jump on board with his gyro camera. I think this stint is going to be a little too long for anybody to be able to fuel save 60 laps. So I believe doing a fuel saving measure is not going to really help in any way, but we'll see. Let's see if anybody up front. Heath is doing it. He's clutching. Roberg keeping it in 5th. Miller, he's keeping it in second. Haney, but yeah, Heath is he's just clutching, throwing that clutch in, letting it sit down low, and going from there. We'll see. Heath take us green once again. Coming up to the Geico start zone. There we go, and we hear the green flag. There he goes. He is off. We saw Richard Kreuzer in the back almost get brake checked, it looked like, by whoever was in front of him. We'll take a look back at that once everybody settles in, but Noah Miller gets by Roberg. Miller is going to be on top. Kyle Heath doing a great job keeping that lead. We'll see how he does. We're going to have, as long as there are no cautions, a green flag pit stop. So far we've had 2 yellow stage pit stops, one at 30 and then one at 40 lap stint. So we're going to see some fantastic racing coming to the end here. It might depend on who has a good pit stop, who has, you know, a better strategy at this point. You have 65 laps worth of racing that you have to do. We're already technically 5 laps into it, so 60 laps. Do you split that up 30 and 30? Do you do you know, a stint of 40 and push the limits of the fuel to as far as they go, and then do a quick 20, a splash and dash on the tires that you have? Or do you do an outside tire swap? You know, you never know what these drivers are going to do to try and just make it to the end. But we'll see what somebody has up their sleeve. We saw last week Roberg with the fuel saving. If we're doing 30 and 30 laps, you know, some of these drivers might be going to... Ooh, that was fairly close there from the 41. Some of these drivers might be, you know, trying to burn their tires off this first stint, get as far as they away from everybody else as they can. Burn the little bit of fuel they have, burn the tires off, the remaining little bit of rubber that they have, and then switch to a fresh set for the last stint. But we'll see. So many different ways that this can be played out. Heath gets passed by Miller. Heaney coming up here too, and we have Roberg, you know, pushing on that low line. Roberg, we've been seeing him do a low line push and then a higher line towards the end push to try and keep himself relevant and in conversation, but Heath kind of just runs that middle the entire time. He doesn't do a low, he doesn't do a high, he kind of does the you know, takes the in the middle approach. And that seems to be working for him, because he has won both stages. He had the best time for pole in qualifying, and so far he's still leading the race here. To my many viewers out there, all 5 of you, don't forget to hit that little subscribe bell. That definitely helps us out here at WA Broadcasting. But don't forget to hit that. That'll give you notifications, and that will help you guys see future races. Also hit that like button. That helps out the broadcast as well, and helps out these guys here at Octane Outlaws get more people watching their races and get more people drawn into the league, as we are 3 wide, almost 4 wide. We have Miller, Heath, Binns, and Roberg fighting, but you know, Heaney in number 9, Pillar in number 39, and Mitrovic in that number 4 car, that bright yellow, right behind him. They are all within that mix too. We'll see who can keep with these drivers that are up front. The big factor right now has been the ability to save tires. Saving tires really has helped out these drivers, and it looks like more and more of them are going to be able to conserve tires throughout this stint. This Heath does get passed by a handful of cars. Heath is down on that low line. He's not going to want Binns to be in his middle line. Heath likes his middle line, and he kind of gave a little push to Binns to say, hey, this is my spot. You know, I like running right here. Back off. Three wide going into turn number 1. Miller, Binns, and Heaney. Almost 4. We got Roberg there as well. just making it interesting, making it very, very interesting. I mean, this race could really go to anybody. Like I said, it's really going to come down to who can execute a pit stop to perfection, and who can, you know, who has the better strategy. We probably won't know who has the best strategy until we really get you know, towards the end of the race. Once we have some of these drivers start filing in for their pit stops early or their pit stops late, we'll be able to tell who you know, has planned this out and who is just kind of going off of what the other drivers are doing, and who's just showing up and putting the pedal down and hoping to just let iRacing do the auto fueling and make it to the end kind of deal. But I will say, once again, I think we had this same track, same situation. One of the 1.5 mile tracks, we had two races in a row where we didn't have a caution outside of stages. And I believe it was before we had stages, so the races went incredibly quick, and we, you know, flew through. Sorry, the way the cars kind of let off their throttle, I thought maybe we did have a caution, but the cars flew through the field. And flew through the race, and you know, we had 2 races in a row where there was 0 cautions and like a total of 20 incidents between everybody. And right now we're doing, you know, we're not doing too bad. 29 total incidents, a couple bumps and, you know, slides and bruises, but nothing to get crazy about. But let's go back to our green flag. We're gonna jump on board Kreuzer. Oh, yeah, Kreuzer's front end. That was not good. Let's see who kind of hit the brakes here. We see Joe Barry is right there. Oh, Joe Barry hits the brakes. At number 5, Frosted Flakes machine. See what happens here. Ooh. Yeah, that's rough on Barry, because he hits the brakes. That slows up Thompson and Guimond, it seems. Yeah, that's rough. You don't want to be doing that. You probably thought that the cars were going and then just had to hit the hooks, but that's unfortunate for the driver. Richard Kreuzer, who's now farther back, has damage. Guimond, who's farther back, and Tommy Thompson, who's farther back. Joe Barry himself, a little farther back, but most of these other drivers right up front here, all the way back to 7th and 8th even, within reach of the leaders. As we come back to it, Jason Heaney is currently leading. Trevor Binns in 2nd place here in the number 3 machine. He's up 12 spots from where he started. 6 spots for Martin Roberg, who is on the inside there of Trevor Binns. But teammates, number 9, number 3, they are 1 and 2 right now in the race, and that is you know, always promising for a team, as it sounds like somebody touched the wall or something happened. And I think they're just touching a wall on entry, a couple of these cars, because it sounds like I don't know if you guys can hear it on the stream, but it sounds like somebody's like getting into each other, just touching a wall. making contact of some sort, like some metal scraping on metal. And yeah, you don't want to see that kind of way to, you know, bunch things up again. But we are lap 92 at 135. And I am going to take a 2-second break here, get myself a sip of water, and I have to run and check on something real fast. So I will be right back, everybody. But we're going to jump on board with Noah Miller, who is having a fun time in some traffic here. We'll jump on board with him. Number 8, Noah Miller. All right, everybody. So sorry. We have a, my daughter is, we believe she's sick. We think she might have a little bit of strep. So, we're just keeping an eye on her, and wife needed a hand giving some medicine. So, just had to run away for just a second to take care of our little toddler Lily. So, shout out to her. Hopefully she starts feeling better. Hopefully she doesn't have the same thing Corey has. Corey is suspected of having the dreaded COVID. But we're hoping everybody that's sick gets better. Everybody that's had to miss is able to make it out. And everybody that is having to take time off and away from the league comes back and has a wonderful time, because we are getting some good racing going on right here. Heaney right now leading us in those Napa gold filters logo there on the side. Fantastic job there from Heaney. As we're seeing Broberg behind Miller and Binns, and then Heath is a little ways back compared to where he's been at this stage in the race. So we might be seeing him make these tires last even longer and then go for a quick flash and dash at the end. But he's back in 5th. Mitrovic's right there with him. Binns right in front of him. And Binns, you know, sticking high. Heath has his strategy. He's very much so on the make a strategy and stick to it kind of plan. He doesn't really just fly by the seat of his pants. He's very meticulous in the way that he does things. Kyle Heath is, you know, he won quite a few races last season, having to fight the likes of Alex Coffey and Blaine Wilson, but he was always up front along with Noah Miller, and now it's nice to see we have a couple more in Broberg and Heaney. Patrick Mitrovic, he is, you know, in 5th. He's within striking distance here. But Mitrovic's last season, let's take a look at Mitrovic's here. Mitrovic's last season, he didn't have too many great finishes, but he had so many races where he was within striking distance, just like he is now, all the way up to the like final stint, the last like 10, 15, 20 laps. He would be right there in the mix and then would just pop off the track in some way. Even last week he was right there, I believe, for a podium or a top 4, and he got caught speeding in the pits. The car was coming up behind him into the pit lane. I had analyzed this afterward. The car came up behind him in the pit lane, and he was hitting his brakes coming into the pit lane, and he let off just ever so slightly, just so he wouldn't get rear-ended. And they caught him in the pit lane for speeding, and he had to serve his 40-second penalty. It was unfortunate. You know, he's really been trying to just run clean races, but also you gotta risk a little bit if you're gonna be fast. So he's thrown his car in there in the mix this week and last week. Top 5 right now as we see Roberg and Heaney side by side. Roberg getting by Heaney, and Kyle Heath getting by Noah Miller. Let's see if we'll watch that one. Heath on the inside, Miller trying to stick that outside as best he can. Yep, and Heath just, you know, drives on by. Politely waves as he goes by. We are on lap 103 of 135, so we have 32 laps remaining here. These laps are ticking down fairly quick. It gives us about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on, you know, cautions or, you know, anything else that pops up here in the last handful of laps. Yeah, about 15 minutes though. These drivers will have their long night come to an end, and right now looking like Heath is closing that gap, as we have our first driver in, Tommy Thompson. He's splitting the uprights, just like I had said. 30 laps and 30 laps to complete these last 60. There's going to be 30 laps left when he comes out of the pits here. And he is going to just be, like I said, splitting the uprights. PMP Graphics made his livery as well. But we see Bins in, Mitrovic's in, Noah Miller in, Heaney in. So we have quite a bit more company down in pit lane with Mr. Tommy Thompson. It looks like 30 laps, you know, splitting that uprights is the way that they want to go. A couple cars. Both tires for all 3 right there. Doing Bins. Gonna have Mitrovic's right in his pocket. Ooh, Bins gets a little squirrely. Wow, he almost lost it there. That's not gonna be good trying to get back on the track, but Heath, Roberg, and Pillar coming in. Roberg coming out of the pits right now. Heath gets passed by Roberg. Roberg was actually out in front first. We have Joe Barry out there going for a longer stint. Raymond Mull behind him. George Buck behind him. And on track, we have right there, unlapping himself, is Jason Heaney. And Kyle Heath in pit first. Joe Barry is coming down into pit lane here. On the apron, off the apron, maybe a little bit. Barry's going to be trying to get back out on track. But with that early error, I'll call it. That's what it was. That early error of hitting the brakes at the start line, that really does hurt his chances. Raymond Mull coming in later than most. Kreuzer going down the home stretch there. George Buck, he's pretty far out front. He's coming down into the pit lane. You hear him revving down. Jason Heaney is our provisional leader. Roberg right there with him, and Heath right behind him. Miller a little ways back, an additional 4 seconds. Bins an additional 3, and then Mitrovic's an additional 0.2. Roberg and Heaney fighting right now in this final stint here. These 3, Roberg, Heaney, and Heath, all getting by Buck. Kreuzer still out there, still doing his thing. Got that banged in front end from the restart that we saw earlier. And that's very unfortunate for Richard, because he's actually got some good pace today in the car. You can see behind him, look like Tommy Thompson. Technically a lap down because he is behind Richard, but everybody is a lap down behind Richard right now. Till he goes into the pits, which takes about 45 seconds. Maybe 40 seconds off your pit, or off your lap time. So he should drop down once he does go in for his pit lane, behind Thompson and probably in between Guimont and Buck. Maybe behind Buck, in between Barry and Buck. So we'll see. Yeah, probably right in front of Barry. Ooh, that looked like Guimont behind him coming out of that corner. Really squirrely. Guimont sitting in 10th right now. Richard Kreuzer, he is going to be dipping down into the pit lane. You see him slowing down, trying to get down onto the apron, and he looked like he came in really hot. Yeah, Richard Kreuzer, black flag for speeding in the pits. I could only imagine. He just comes flying into the pit lane. Not sure what he was thinking on that one. That one wasn't the best showing there from Richard on his pit lane entry. As we see him coming in, he's really trying to slow down gear 2. Gear 1, he almost gets a little squirrely there. So it's very imperative to get your pit stops done in an orderly fashion. Roberg right now is our leader, 0.8 of a second ahead of Heaney, and then Miller back there with he's side by side with Barry. Barry is a lap down, and so is Mull behind Barry there. Kreuzer in the pits. Looks like Kreuzer's coming out. Didn't get his damage fixed. He must have used both of his fast repairs. But Kreuzer coming out of the pits, 2 laps down currently. Very unfortunate to be picking up that damage on the start finish line. So sorry, once again, stepping away for just a moment to check on the little one. But yeah, Martin Roberg really pushing up. There's a pack of lapped drivers here that are all fighting for position. I believe that is... let's see. That is Guimont, Buck, and Tommy Thompson right ahead of them. And that is Mull, who is 2 laps down. So hopefully they figure it out. And I don't want to say, you know, everybody get out of the way of the leader, but that might hang up Roberg a little bit. Some of these drivers, I mean, they're fighting for position themselves, so they don't want to just, you know, swerve out of the way. But you also don't want to be, you know, just completely ruining the leaders race either. So, you know, a balance within racing once you have these kind of situations arise. You see Guimont there, trying not to get in the way of, looks like Heath back there. But you also don't want to compromise your race. Heath goes by, Guimont kind of files in behind. But Roberg's still behind George Buck, and that's going to be hurting him because Heath is now into cleaner air. And George Buck now Still side by side with Roberg. Buck doing a great job to keep pace with Roberg. Oh no, Roberg gets bumped by Buck. Just a tiny little bit. Oh, and they're banging doors going down the straight. Buck is now, he just might have touched the wall there, but Buck is now falling back away from Roberg. Roberg definitely doesn't want to get into it with a lapped car like that. Heath right behind as well, closed a little bit more of a gap, 4/10 now, and Buck is up touching the wall, trying to stay out of the way of Heath. He's doing a good job there, and Heath files right in. Ooh, cuts across the front of Buck, and George Buck just, like I said, trying to race his race against Guimont, because him and Guimont right there in the number 66 behind him, they are fighting for points and position. You know, they're, why would you want to give up any position or any headway? We have also a little farther back, we have Mitrovic side by side with Bins. Ooh, Bins a little touch from Mitrovic there. 16 laps to go, and we're starting to see a little bit of squirreliness from some of the drivers. We are, you know, we're in a great position here for a, you know, I don't want to say a checkered finish, but you know, Heath and Roberg, Heath is now by Roberg. You know, they're right there next to each other. Heaney and Miller. Miller's 10 seconds. I don't know how Miller's 10 seconds back from Roberg, Heaney, and Heath. That is, that's incredible. That somehow they set a 10-second gap on the field. I think it might have been because they pit earlier and they had that run, you know, doing the undercut. They had the run while others were trying to get out of the pit lane. They had the speed and the warmed up tires to kind of push them ahead. But Kyle Heath right now, fantastic job. He's starting to pull away from Roberg. We'll see if those tires hold out, and you know what he can end up doing. He's got more lapped cars coming up in Mull right here, and Tommy Thompson is one car ahead. They are not fighting for position though. Mull is 2 laps down, got a little bit of damage on his front hood, which might have been from that that kind of brake check restart. And then Tommy Thompson, he goes down and out of the way just ever so slightly. He's trying to stay down and out of the way, which is a little bit of a problem because Mull's trying to stay up and out of the way. So they're taking away the up top, they're taking away the down low. He says, I'll take both of you guys, and kind of go way down on the apron to avoid any contact or any problems here. And we'll see if Roberg can do the same. Thompson now on the top side. He might have seen that Mull was on that top side. I'm kind of went with what Mull was doing, but Roberg making his way through the field. Heaney right there with him. Heaney is 2.6 seconds back from Heath, keeping that, but his interval to Roberg is only 1.9, and that's been coming down very, very steadily. Heath leading us. Let's look back at some of our other drivers. We'll make our way through the field. Heaney only a couple seconds back from Roberg and Heath. Going through some of these cars with the Guimont and Buck fight going on in front of them. And we got Noah Miller a little farther back. Mitrovic's a couple cars back from him. He is currently in 5th, 2 seconds back from Miller. Bins kind of being left behind by Mitrovic's a little bit. Bins doing a great job though of keeping that top 6. Greg Pillar 19 seconds back from him. Tommy Thompson lapped but fighting George Buck and David Guimont right there, who are catching up to him. We're gonna have a 3-way battle for 8th place. And then Joe Barry farther back. He's in front of Patrick Mitrovic right now, but he is lapped for sure. And then Raymond Mull right here in 12th, kind of getting caught up in those leaders a little bit ago. And Richard Kreuzer making his way around the track. He is got that damaged front end from the green restart. 9 laps to go. Heath is closing the gap on him, and Heath will be coming into a 3 laps on Kreuzer and Mull shortly. as we come to the line. 8 to go here for Heath. I'm not thinking Roberg's going to have anything for him. Roberg is now 1.4 laps back, and Heaney is now 4 seconds back, so he's dropped back. Roberg has dropped back in traffic, and Heaney has dropped back in traffic as well. Noah Miller looks like he's closing the gap ever so slightly to Heaney, but Miller is still a little ways back. He'd really have to drive those tires right off the car in order to get himself back up into a fighting position for 3rd place. Heath right now setting his fastest laps of the race, along with Roberg. Roberg sounds like he hit the wall. He has dropped back another few tenths. See, I think Roberg's pushing that car a little too far. Heaney is going to be closing if he keeps bumping the wall like that, along with not only Heaney, but some of the lapped cars in George Buck, Raymond Mull, Tommy Thompson, David Guimond. They're all going to be closing in on him if he keeps bumping the wall like that. We have Tommy Thompson making a move, getting by Guimond, and they're side by side right now as well. Even these lapped cars are making it interesting for 8th place. Tommy Thompson by Guimond. Guimond kind of just lets him go by. You don't want to, see anybody being too overly aggressive, but you also don't want to see anybody being, just so cautious that they don't even put up a fight. You want to see these drivers fighting, putting those elbows out, especially with 5 laps to go. You want to make it to the end, but throw those elbows out a little bit, Guimond. Don't make it so easy on Tommy to get on by. Heath still making more and more of a gap as we go along. The gap right now, though, between Roberg and Heaney is 2.5. We'll be looking for that to drop on down. Heaney is kind of in traffic here with Buck and Mull. And Mull lets him by, and Heaney is, going to be trying to get by George Buck here, who is in 8th place. A lot of people kind of on no man's land. Heaney kind of on his own island, but he's mixed in with the drivers that are fighting for 8th place, who is Buck, Thompson, and Guimond. And then Miller's on an island, Mitrovic is on an island, Binns is on an island, and then Pillar's on an island. And then you come back up, and everybody's like a 4 or 5 second gap to each other, except for these few cars that we're looking at here, and they're lapped, so they're just starting to overlap the islands a bit. 3 to go. Heath's still out front, 4 second gap for him to Roberg. Let's see if anybody has problems with fuel. I don't think we will, because we had drivers going 32, 33 laps on fuel. In that second stint. So I wouldn't think anybody's going to have any fuel saving issues or fuel or tire issues or anything along those lines. 2 laps to go. Heath out front, still doing a fantastic job. As soon as he got by Roberg, he flew on by, and this driver, 3700 I rating, 3200 I rating from Roberg, Noah Miller at 3300, and Jason Heaney at 2500. These drivers, they're doing a great job to put some real pace down for some of the lower I rating drivers to kind of go off of and strive to hit those times this late in the race. Final lap though, Kyle Heath in that number 13 machine right now, doing a fantastic job. He is right there with Richard Kreuzer. Kreuzer, ooh, getting a little squirrely there. Kreuzer goes off track ever so slightly, but Kyle Heath is your winner for the Midwest Cookout 135. So we have Roberg, Heaney, Miller coming across. Mitrovic will be coming across here as well. And we have Binns behind Mitrovic, Pillar back a little bit, and then George Buck, who would have passed after Kyle Heath did. Here comes Pillar in 7th place. Great race from everybody. No cautions except for our stage caution, so fantastic race from all. and we will get set up to do some interviews here, everybody. All right, looks like Heath is done with his celebrations, so we are going to start talking to our drivers here. Jason Heaney in third, Martin Roberg in second, and Kyle Heath in first. Those are the drivers that we will be talking to. And for whatever reason, the race is technically not done, but my results are not popping up. There we go. All right, so it's looking like we have everybody on one screen, so that's nice. Kyle Heath takes our win. Martin Roberg takes second. Jason Heaney in third. Noah Miller in fourth. Patrick Mitrovic in fifth. Trevor Binns in sixth. Greg Pillar in seventh. George Buck in eighth. David Guimond in ninth. Tommy Thompson in 10th. Joe Barry in 11th. Raymond Mull Sr. in 12th. Richard Kreuzer in 13th. And Casey Ellis in 14th. It was unfortunate to see Casey drop on out, and Zachary Steele just never jumped on track, so sad to see both of them out of the race, but still fantastic race, no cautions, and only a couple people off of the main lap, and about half the field. For the first half of the race, all of our cautions that were thrown for stages, everybody was still on the main lap until we had to do a green flag pit stop. And that's what seemed to separate, Heath, Roberg, and Heaney from the rest of the field. Miller, Mitrovic, and Binns, and Pillar even dropped back a little bit at that point. So we'll see who we got right now in the waiting room. I think we'll bring in our race winner here, number 13, Kyle Heath. Kyle, do I have you down there in the 13 machine?
Yep, you got me.
Fantastic race. We saw just a amazing, I want to put it, amazing work done and strategy just executed by yourself each and every stage. It was quite fun to watch, actually. You always seem to drop back a little bit, and then at the end, within 10 laps of the stage, or 20 laps of the main race, you would just close the gap, pass whoever was in first, and then just, fly on by for the win for that stage, or the win for that, the end of the race there. So fantastic job doing that. What was the strategy coming in? Were you looking to run the high line, mid line, low line? What were you planning on doing?
The low line. That was pretty much my whole objective, running the low line. I enjoy running the high line, but I know from a past experience that I had my own special strategy going on, and I knew I didn't have the short run speed, which really sucked at the beginning of the runs because I really couldn't keep up too well. But at the end of the run, I was able to run the leaders back down and pass them one by one and just kind of walk away. I got kind of nervous coming to that second stage. I was like, well, I'm quite far enough back. I'm kind of nervous now because the temperature of the track kept changing too. It kept fluctuating. It kept getting really warm and really cool and then really back warm again. And so it was kind of hit or miss on what was going to happen by the end of it.
Yeah, we must have checked it when it was right on, where it started. We checked it at the beginning of the race, which was 84 degrees, and then or 82 degrees, and we checked again later and it was 83. And it was, very close when we had checked it. But yeah, you guys out there with the sun hitting the track and then the shade coming out here and there, definitely have a better feel for it than what I do up here in the booth. But, great job. Like I said, keeping all that temperature fluctuation in check. And yeah, we were kind of keeping an eye there at the end, that final stint, because you were, I want to say, like 3.5 seconds back before Roberg started to hit a little bit of traffic, and it seemed like you cut through the traffic much easier than he did, and caught up, and that seemed to help out in your favor a little bit more. What were you thinking when you started getting to that lap traffic that was, in George Buck, David Guimon, and Tommy Thompson? They were all fighting for position. So what was going through your mind as you came up to them?
Well, from the whole beginning, coming out that the last green flag stop, I knew that second place, I forget his name, he was going to run as hard as he could, and I knew if he ran as hard as he could, I was actually going to be able to catch up to him. I just didn't know when and if I was going to run out of laps. But once we caught that traffic, I knew they were going to be tough on him because, just in case the caution come out, they were fighting to stay in the lead lap. Anybody would fight to stay on the lead lap. So, and I knew since they fought him pretty much hard that I was going to end up catching up with him. And as soon as I was able to get clear of all the lap traffic and pass the leader, I was able just to run my line and just basically just walk away with it, which I'm surprised. I was gaining about 2 to 3 tenths a lap on him.
Yep. Yeah, it was like I said, it was quite the victory for you. He was actually losing time to Jason Heaney behind him in third. Ended up only being about 1.5 seconds off of him, but he was closing the gap on Roberg as well. So I'm wondering if Roberg kind of burnt his tires up earlier on, or maybe burnt his tires up in that traffic. So, but in any case, we'll let you go celebrate with the team, Kyle. Great victory, and we hope to see you. We won't be racing this next week. We have a week off, but after that, we go to Road America for a road course. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I was able to have this Friday free, so I was able to race tonight. Very few times I'm actually able to have Fridays free. So anytime I have the nights free on Fridays, I try to jump in here and race. I'm not sure if I'll be able to or not, but Road America is a fun track. I have not raced these cars at that track yet. I've been on the track plenty of times, but these cars I have not.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it mixes up the field being on a road course. But once again, we'll let you go celebrate with Team Kyle. Congrats on the victory, and we hope to see you again in the booth.
Yep, thank you.
All right, that was Kyle Heath. We're going to bring in Martin Roberg, and Martin got second in our race today. Martin, do I got you down there in the number 41 machine?
Yep, you've got me.
Awesome. Well, second place there for you. Couldn't quite hold off Kyle Heath. He was, just blazing fast today all around from pole to winning each stage and then winning the final race there. What was your strategy coming in? Because he ran the low line. What was your strategy while you were running?
On that final run, I knew I probably would not be able to hold him off, so I just was trying to build as big of a gap as possible, which I immediately caught lap traffic, so that didn't exactly work for me, but I knew if I saved, I could probably fend him off until, 2 to go, like I had been doing in both stages, but I honestly just didn't want to lose a race with 2 to go. So I decided I'll just push. Maybe I'll make him burn his stuff up, but just didn't work out. But that's fine. He was the class of the field. I'm glad he won because he really earned that race.
Yeah, he was stellar flying today. You had Jason creeping up behind you there at the end. Especially you guys had some lap traffic, kind of like you said there towards that last stint. A lot of people had a little bit slower pit stop, and then you guys came out and were right there with them. So as you came up to that lap traffic, what was going through your mind? Were you focused on just getting through them, or were you more focused on trying to keep Heath behind you and Heaney behind you?
I was hoping I could keep the gap relatively even, but I just got stuck behind, I think it was the 28 that I just could not quite pass, and then we made contact a few times, so at that point my gap was kind of gone, so like I went into it hoping to just maintain because I knew the pace was starting to flip into his favor, and I was hoping maybe he'd get held up enough that I'd just be able to pull away, but just didn't work out.
Yep, we saw, yeah, that was the 28 of George Buck. And then I want to say there were a couple others there. They were all fighting for position for 8th spot, Buck, Guimont, and Thompson, all within, a few seconds of each other. And then they bunched up all as, as the leaders came by them, they all bunched up to be almost a 3-wide wall for you guys. So great job cutting through and, keeping the time loss to a minimum. But yeah, we saw the door bang in there that you had with Buck coming across the finish line, and we kind of saw like okay, I'm not gonna mess with this. Let's just move on and just try and blaze by him and have Buck, back off and Guimond back off and everybody just kind of out of the way. But yeah, second place still is nothing to shake your head about. It's great finish for you, for the team. And before I let you go, though, do you have anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Shout out to my teammates as always. It's always great working with them. Today they both beat me in qualifying, so they helped me when I was getting through the field on the first run. Not by holding anyone up or just making blatantly dumb moves, but by just helping me get through the traffic, letting me know what was working, what wasn't working. So that's how I was able to drive up on the first run. I was just kind of relying on them. Yeah, that's kind of it. I don't really have any special shoutouts this week. I guess shout out to everyone who put this race together. It's been a really fun. It was a really fun race. It's been a really fun season so far. Like I'm having a lot of fun. So just shout out to everyone who's showing up, putting this together. It's a great product.
Yep, I know I take pride in the broadcast here that we try and put on, and I know the admins of the league, they really are. They put 110% into the league each week, and to just try and make this the best place to race on the iRacing service. So, yep, big shout out to them from me as well. But before I let you go, once again, Road America is coming up in 2 weeks' time. What's your strategy for there?
I was not aware, but that was next on the schedule.
Yep, we have 1 week off this upcoming week, the 26th, and then Road America is our next race, road race. So are you familiar with the course, and are you familiar with road racing enough in these cars to feel like you'll be up at the top again?
Sonoma went well for me. I finished second, but Road America is just such a tough track. I don't have many laps around there, so since Daytona, I've finished second or first in every race. I don't think that streak's going to continue, in all honesty. Like, I'm going to do my best to learn the track, but it's not a track I'm confident in, and it's right around finals for me, so not going to have much time to learn it either, but I'll give it my best.
Well, we do wish you luck on your finals, and we wish you luck at Road America as well. But Martin, go ahead and celebrate with the team, get yourself some champagne, and we will catch you in the next race.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, I'll be back here somehow. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll be crossing our fingers, hoping we get to talk to you again at Road America. If not, after that we have Pocono, so another should be fairly familiar track for you to jump back into the interview booth. But we'll wish you luck, Martin, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night.
All right, that was Martin Roberg, our second place finisher. And now I am bringing into the booth Jason Heaney. Jason, third place. Do I got you down there, first of all?
Yep, I got a copy.
Awesome. Then, third place finish. You were closing the gap there on Martin at the end of the race. He was starting to get through some lap traffic, and then you were seeing it yourself. But once you guys kind of got through that, you were closing the gap there at the end. Do you think if you had a few more laps, you could have caught up to him?
I mean, I was cutting it down enough there to where if we had, maybe another 5 laps, I could have got closer to him, maybe had a chance for a battle for it. But, it's just not the way it worked out today, which, I mean, he put on a heck of a run there, a heck of a race, very fast and, led some laps and definitely had the position after that pit stop to try to, keep Kyle back. But Kyle was just so fast. Even for me, I'm ecstatic with third. It was a good run for the team, and the car handled and did pretty well, kind of what I expected. But definitely could have used a few more laps to maybe race for P2, but that would have been tight.
Yeah, that was it was quite the race by Kyle. He really did put on a clinic today. Coming into the race, though, what was your strategy? Were you looking to run that high line, run that low line, somewhere in the middle? And then what was tire strategy and fuel strategy coming in?
My plan coming in was to try to kind of go back and forth between the low and the high. I had run a race at this track just a few nights ago in another league, and kind of found a couple different sweet spots with how the car handled in it. But again, it was a different time of day. It was a night race, and obviously track temp a lot higher during the day here. So handling was a little bit different, but I searched for grip. I didn't stay consistent with one lane too much, but just tried to chase after it a little bit and stay off the wall, which I think I had. I think I ended up hitting it twice the whole race. So, didn't beat that one, but overall, I mean, it went pretty well.
Yeah, we saw a couple people, scuffing the wall up a bit, on that entry, just trying to get as wide as you can so you have a better entry into the turn and can carry some more speed. But, everybody, I think, touched the wall at least once on entry, if not, farther into the turn. You don't want to do that, especially. But, either way, third place is a great finish for you and for the team. So, congrats there. We saw for a second there you had Trevor Binns running there right up front with you 1 and 2, so that was cool to see for the team as well. So maybe we'll see some more of that in the future. But coming up next week, we have Road Atlanta, or 2 weeks' time. We have Road Atlanta. What is your strategy for you and for the team?
Well, we're going to go in there and give it our best. Road courses are something I'm pretty good at now. Granted, this is my first season in any leagues racing this car, so not a lot of experience with this car on road courses. But definitely we'll put in some practice, put in some work, and try to get this car hammered out to where I feel pretty good and ready to go here in a couple weeks' time.
Awesome. Well, we'll leave it at that then for you. Any special shout outs you want to give this week for finishing in third today?
I just want to give a shout out to First Gear Racing. Team's really helping us and putting together good racing and bringing good cars to the track, and appreciate that from the support we get from the team. And then shout out to the kids at home watching, Alex, Zoe, and Christopher. They always supporting me all the way. And then big shout out to Octane Outlaws putting this series on and just having a good time, enjoying it, and appreciate you, Alex. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and we love putting on this show. You guys make it easy with all the fun that you guys have out on track. So we will let you go and celebrate with the family, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time. Hopefully get to interview you again on the podium.
All right, sounds good. We'll see you then.
Yep, have a good night, Jason.
You too.
All right, that was Jason Heaney in the number 9, finishing in third. We'll go through one more time. Kyle Heath finishing in fourth. Martin Roberg finishing in second. Jason Heaney in third. Noah Miller in fourth. Patrick Mitrovic in fifth. Trevor Binns in sixth. Greg Pillar in seventh. George Buck in eighth. David Guimont in ninth. Tommy Thompson in 10th, Joe Barry in 11th, Raymond Mull Sr. in 12th, Richard Kreuzer in 13th, Casey Ellis pulling over and stopping, only 25 laps into the race, so once again, hopefully Casey is doing okay. And then 15th is Zachary Steele, didn't quite get started on the race, so hopefully we see you next week, Zachary, or in 2 weeks' time, when we come to Road Atlanta. For everybody else out there, we hope to see you guys there as well. I'm going to hop on off for the night and go take care of my little one, Lily, see how she's doing. But until 2 weeks' time from now, we will see you guys, and we hope to see you there.